Good afternoon. I'm here with Diane Goodman, who was recently appointed by the High Commissioner as Senior Coordinator to lead UNHCR's work on sexual exploitation and abuse and sexual harassment. Diane, good afternoon.
Hi.
Can you tell us what your role is about?
Okay, so my role is to be a catalyst and a facilitator, to link up the many ongoing initiatives in headquarters, in the field, and with external partners to eradicate sexual exploitation, abuse, and sexual harassment. But I'm also a very impatient and somewhat pushy person, so what I really want to see as the priority is implementing concrete action to end sexual exploitation, abuse, and sexual harassment. The High Commissioner has committed to a series of measures to do so, and I'm really looking forward to working together with a team at headquarters as well as all colleagues in the field to do so.
Thank you. Lately, we've seen lots of very worrying news about refugees being sexually abused and assaulted, including by humanitarian workers, but also several cases reported by the press about sexual harassment within UN organizations. What's your reaction?
Well, this is obviously a really serious concern because it shows just how wide and pervasive sexual abuse and exploitation and sexual harassment is, and the aid sector isn't immune. At the same time, it shows that the culture of silence surrounding sexual exploitation, abuse, and sexual harassment is being broken. And so we really have to use this as an opportunity. When I was entrusted with this position, it really caused me to reflect on my own individual behavior and think about how I might have spoken up more in the past and done more to create an inclusive and respectful environment. And I think this is something that we all need to reflect on and commit to change.
Diane, how do you assess UNHCR's efforts to tackle sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment? Are we doing enough?
Well, tackling sexual exploitation, abuse, and sexual harassment has been a priority for the organization for a long time. I remember in the early 2000s, I went to Nepal to look at the problem of sexual exploitation, not by UNHCR staff, but by refugee incentive workers, teachers in the school that were sexually abusing young girls. This impacted me a lot, and at that moment I really decided to devote a lot of efforts, regardless of my position, to tackling sexual abuse and sexual violence. Since that time, I think that we've really come a long way, but there's a lot more to be done in that respect, and that's what I'm doing in this new position, working together with you to take some concrete action there.
You've been in this new role for a couple of weeks now. Can you tell us more about your findings? What's your impression? And what are the key gaps that we need to address?
Okay, I think there are a number of challenges. One of the first challenges I would say is underreporting. So people need to be able to feel trust in the systems that we've established, that they need to be accessible, they need to be trusted, and that people need to feel safe and protected. And that's one of our priority actions, is to really improve the internal systems, the reporting mechanisms. Another thing that I really think we need to do is engage men as partners and contributors in our efforts to eradicate sexual exploitation and abuse and sexual harassment. And then a third thing is I think we have to recognize that even though I said I was impatient and we need to take action now, there's really no easy fix, because sexual misconduct is really rooted in gender inequalities and deep power differentials. So this is going to take time, but I think it's possible.
But when you look at the number of allegations when it comes to sexual exploitation and abuse, UNHCR always come among the UN agencies most affected. Is it worrying, and how can we address that? Does it mean that the situation at UNHCR is more serious than in other UN organizations?
Even one case of sexual exploitation and abuse is a very worrying concern, but I don't think that UNHCR is any more worrying than any other organizations. There are a few reasons, I think, for this. One is because we're taking action, whether it's a UNHCR staff or a partner working with that, so that makes our numbers somewhat higher. In addition, I think there's an increasing trust in our reporting mechanisms, in our investigation, and our disciplinary process, and that's also positive. And third, I think there's been a very, very strong message from the High Commissioner and the Deputy High Commissioner, who's also championing this internally and externally. And the message is sexual exploitation and abuse, sexual harassment will not be tolerated, and perpetrators will be held to account. There's just no place in UNHCR for sexual misconduct.
But since last fall, we've also seen a rise in the number of allegations of sexual harassment within UNHCR. What's your reaction to this increase, and do you have a special message for victims of sexual harassment who might be watching you right now?
I'd like to say to them, I really acknowledge your pain and your suffering, and this should never have happened within UNHCR. I also want to say we are here for you, we're listening to you, and we want to really provide the best support to you that we possibly can. We're here for you.
One last question, Diane. We often hear about the collective responsibility we as staff members have to tackle sexual exploitation, abuse and harassment. But do you have a concrete call to action for staff members who might want to contribute and help fighting those two types of misconduct?
Okay. I think UNHCR is our organization and we can change it. As I mentioned, we're working with a small team here to set up a number of concrete measures to end sexual exploitation and sexual abuse. And we really, really want to learn from the field, grow with the field, get their best practices in, and engage them in this process. So we've set up a Slack group. We really hope you'll use it, you'll contact us, you'll become engaged and share the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.